All right, we're back under the car today. We got to fix a screw up here. So I had mounted the fuel pressure filter regulator setup right there. And in a dumb spell, didn't realize it is directly over the exhaust pipe. You can see where it was dripping gas. So I've got to figure out a better place for this. Unfortunately, that's going to mean I have to rebuild these two lines, the feed and return to the tank right here, as well as I'm going to have to move the end down on this one. But I've got to clock that out of the way so it sits over against that frame rail so that if it ever does drip, it's not dripping on the exhaust. This is just silly. I really spaced it on that, and it's going to take a lot of work to fix it, but it's got to be done. And unfortunately, I got to drop the tank to do it. That's the only way I can get these hoses off the top of the tank. But, you know, just going to suck it up and do it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this muffler off real quick. It's 2 bolts and a clamp, and I'll have that whole show right in my hands. Once I get that off, I can then come back in and give you a better picture of what I'm going to try to do here. All right, I've dropped the muffler out. It only takes a couple minutes, which is nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull down that regulator, filter regulator, and I'm going to look and see where else I could put it that would be more advantageous. I think I might just mount it up to this brace right here and just put a riv nut in that and pull it there. That would be out of the way as much as possible. I've got to be careful here because, you know, my rear end is all the way down. It could travel up, hit that bump stop. I got to make sure that there's really nothing that can hit it if that should happen. So, gotta look at this, figure out where the best place to put it is, and keeping it again away from the muffler. All right, so here we go. I've relocated the filter up to the frame rail. I think everything will clear. If I really bottom that out, that might be a problem, but I'll just have to keep an eye on it. I don't know what else to do. It is the place it has to be. So, yeah, the only other thing I could do is mount it up here above the rear end, but that's going to be problematic because I'd have to find a way to extend this line up to it. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Okay, so I mounted up there off the frame rail, as you just saw, and I cut off the 90-degree fitting that I had on there, boom, and put a straight fitting on. Now that I can just come straight down through there, I think that should be fine. I have capped it. I am now going to drain. I'm going to drop the car so that I can drain the tank. There is probably 4 gallons left in it. So I want to drain the tank so I'm not wrestling all that extra weight. And when I do that, I am going to put the pressure test setup on the front side and pressure test this line, specifically this new joint I made. I'm not putting any more AN hoses in this car that are not pressure tested prior to installation. Then I know if I have a leak, it's not in the engagement here with the ferrule. It has to be at the flare itself. So I'm just trying to rule out future problems. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop the car, pressure test that, let that sit for a while I drain the tank. Okay, this is my setup that I use to pressure test AN lines. Just took a fuel pressure gauge adapter, then put it on a cap that has a 1/8" NPT on it, so that converter. So I'll just charge it with that Schrader valve and pressurize the line. Come back. I'll probably put about 70 psi on this. then come back and check it in a half hour or so, see what I get. I've disconnected the fuel line and ready to go. All right, tank's out. That wasn't as much fun as it looked. Anyway, I've taken the lines off and I got the vent. This one's the return, and I think this one should have a P on it for pump. It's S, supply, return. Okay. I've taken the lines off. I measured them before I took them off, and I need an additional 4 inches on each one of these. So I'm going to basically take advantage of being able to use my existing lines to make my new ones. So the next thing I'm going to do is deal with that, I guess. Okay, so you can see I got the filter up in there. My buddy Paul came by yesterday, helped me slap this tank back up in. It's just kind of a bear to do alone, so Paul was nice enough to come over and we just popped that right back in. I got the exhaust back on, filter's in place. Hopefully everything's okay with it now. I just pressurized it real quick and I see a little bit of moisture on that downhill fitting. I've got to double check that, but hopefully everything's good. And now we're going to move on. I got to get the new filler neck in, so we'll do that next. All right, so now I'm going to put in the new filler neck I got. So this filler neck has a splash guard in it, so it doesn't kick back and blow fuel all over your new paint job. This is what the original one looks like. Well, once you get the cap off it. And, you know, this filler neck, you know, the good old days was wide open for leaded gasoline and all of that, right? But nowadays, you know, they have the unleaded gas thing so that the nozzle will only fit, but that isn't even a concern anymore. So, this fella here sells these things. I've put a link to he has like a little PDF catalog that he sent me. I put a link to it down in the description. Really cool guy. And basically he doesn't have a website or anything. It's very much an old school operation. Send him an email, send him a PayPal or Venmo, and your piece will be on the way. And basically what he does is he takes the stock necks and puts these traps in them. So I figured that was well worth the expense, just because I don't want to, you know, have the thing kick back, and the pumps today are a little more powerful than the old ones were, and they'll really shove a lot of fuel out if you don't do it right. So I'm going to try to get this in right now and work from there. I've already got the rubber boot in place, so this shouldn't be that hard. Okay, so that's all back together. The filler neck is in. Again, I'm going to put the link for the document, the little catalog, down below in the description. You can find it there. I really like that. Guy was really nice to deal with. Just ordered the part, showed up here a week later, so I can't be more pleased. Okay, so gas tank's all back in. Everything is good. So I'll probably end this video here and move on to some couple other little things I got to deal with up in the engine bay. But we'll get to those. Then it's cut and buff time. Get this cut and buff, and then I can start assembling the body components. So yeah, moving right along here. It's been a slog, but you know, it is what it is. I had to pull the dash back out because I ended up with a leak up on the one of the fittings that went into the vintage air unit. I had a little drip of compressor oil there, so when I charged that system, which was also fun, by the way, I would make a video of it, but I don't want anybody to follow the process I went through because I was terrible at it. But I eventually figured it out. There's a lot of good references out there on how to do that. But I have ordered another tube, another piece of the vintage air tube, so I can go up and over the glove box this time rather than under it. That is here now, so I should be able to get that in very soon. But yeah, that's all kind of come together now. And once I'm going to get some dye to put in my AC system just to make sure that I resolve that leak. And once that dye turns up, I'll run it a little bit more, and then I can close the glove box back off and put that new tube in and all that. So that's what I'm waiting on there. But yeah, other than that, I feel like get the last couple little issues in the engine bay sorted while I'm kind of in this mode, and then I will move on from there.